Let me get you some honey and some ginger, girl. I don't know you, but you mean the world to me. 'Cause you save me from my reality. Yes, I know that it's bad for me to.
Welcome to American Benign. Thank you for watching. Today I'm going to be going over the I-129F application for Fiancee Visa. First, let me explain. You're asking, this form is asking for permission to file for the visa. It is not file. This is not the form to file the visa. This form will end up, you'll, after 4 to 6 weeks, hopefully, if you did everything right, you'll receive a notification. We call it NOA1. You'll get your NCSIC, is that right? Account number, and you'll be off to your 14 to 19 month wait. And I don't care what an attorney tells you, you go to the groups, people who have attorneys, people who don't have attorneys, they all sit there. But needless, like my disclaimer said, this is for educational purposes only. And if you have legal questions or do not understand anything that cannot be assessed by the general public, seek and consult an attorney. So, with that, before you even fill out this paper, there are some things that you need to have prepared. You need your and your beneficiaries' addresses and employment history for the past 5 years, as well as your current addresses. You need your birth certificates, social security cards, and those identifying government documents to write down who you are as they are on those documents that you will submit your evidence with. If you've been married and divorced, you will need your divorce documents, the date of your divorce specifically. They will ask you information on your underage children, and they will want to know where your beneficiaries' underage children live. So with that, you'll also have to, if your beneficiary is from like Korea or French Gonda or somewhere where they have a different national language that is not in the English alphabet, or like Russian and was it Cyrillic, you will have to have that address in that native language and her name in that native alphabet, and you will have to have an attorney, or not an attorney, sorry, that's incorrect. You'll have to have a translator who is not related to you, I think. Make sure that this form is filled out in black and white, black only. Black only. Make sure that if you have used a marriage broker, that she was not coerced and it is not you're not going to end up in a human trafficking situation. Expect this form, once you've gathered all the information, expect it to take 1 hour to complete, maybe longer. Make sure you are using the correct version of the I-129F form, which is edition March 21st, 2002. It is in the lower left middle bottom of the first page. And up at the top, it will say it expires March 22nd, 2024. Read the instructions first before doing it. Read them first, print them out, refer to them often. If you do not do the G1450 form to pay with a check or credit card, you will have to send cash. Once you print it out, don't forget to sign. That is like one of the biggest things I hear that people forget. They're like, oh my God, I sent it and I forgot to sign it. Join a group on Facebook, or you will need a lot of peer support through this process, and it will take years. When you go to prepare your evidence, lay it out in an easy to follow order, like in a book or in a binder. Make a index page that your counselor or officer can refer to when they are working on your evidence. Don't just throw it all in a packet and let them sort through it. It will probably take that much more forever. Make sure your mailing addresses are correct, and if you happen to move during this process, you, you or your beneficiary, make sure you inform them by writing and correct your address. And if with any luck you do all this properly and you make sure your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted, sometime in 15 months, give or take, your beneficiary will receive a notice of approval too, and she can begin planning her or his interview, medical appointment, bio testings, and all that, and filling out the next form, which takes hours. The next form is the actual application for the visa. It has an additional cost of like $300. Medical thing is like 200 something dollars, depending, 200 to 300 depending on the country. She'll have to have lodging. He or she will have to have lodging wherever he or she goes to do the interview. Once you get her to America, of course, there's going to be the wedding and all that if you choose to have one. And after a year, there is the neutralization fee and next set of biometric readings, which cost an additional like $1,300 something dollars. Those prices can fluctuate. They just increased. And one last note is they are still currently behind about 3 to 4 months on cases due to the pandemic. They were about 9 months behind. They've got it down to about 3 or 4 months. With that, let's go talk about this I-129F. I-129F form for the petition to have an alien fiance. It is a Department of Homeland Security form presented by the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS. I think I said USCIC earlier, but that's just watching a TV show or something. All right, so first, you want to make sure you have the correct form, which expires, you look up here at the upper right-hand corner, on March 31st, 2004. And the form edition is in the lower left-hand corner, and it's March 21st, 2002. All right, I have kind of filled this in I'm hoping I've filled it in a way that will answer questions, but is also kind of playful if you are a Game of Thrones fan. There is one thing I forgot to do in this form, and that you don't want to do. These two numbers right here, more than likely you're not going to have these. And so anything that you cannot put a letter or number in on this form, you are going to type N/A. don't know why it's doing that. All right. But being that you are a citizen of the United States of America, you will have a social security number. You are filing for a fiancé visa, which is the K-1 visa. This is not a video of any explaining to do with the K-3, though I do believe the K-3 requires both forms, and so I guess you could follow along. I'm not any amount percent sure of that at all. All right, so it's all pretty standard. So the first page, there's 13 pages. 11 of those pages, or 12 of those pages, are the form. Page 13 is an explanation form. That's another thing I meant to mention earlier. When in doubt, document. If you think they need an explanation or you change something on this form, document. Document, document, document. You look at it, it'll show you how. I'll show you what I mean in a few minutes. So, you got your full name, as it is legally. This is like your other names used. And your current mailing address. As I said earlier, it must be all in black. If you open up this in the Microsoft PDF reader, it will let you type into the blocks except for a few blocks, and I don't know why. But you can take the text writer, change it to black, and you can write the answer in. All right. So page 1 covers your address and employment history for the last 5 years. If you need additional space, you will document it and write it in on page 13 or on an additional piece of paper. Page 3, 21 through 26 goes over your gender identity, date of birth, marital status, where you were born, the state or province, your country of birth. 27 through 31B is your parents. They call it parent 1 now, but it is your mother. If you don't know where your mother or father were born, or you don't have that information about their date of birth, or if they were male or female, I guess write NA. Parent 2 would be your father. If you answered that you were married, then you will fill in your last spouse's name if you've been married multiple times, and the date that marriage ended. Next, it covers your U.S. citizenship information. You are probably born in the United States of America. If you weren't, then you know what all this stuff is right here, and fill it in. 43 through 48 or 47 ask if you've ever filed or completed this form before on behalf of another potential spouse. The next questions ask about your children who are minors and what states they live in. And that is all the information on you. Part 2 is basically the same thing. It just covers the information on your beneficiary with a few additional questions. So it's going to ask her first, middle, last name. More than likely, she will not have an alien number yet, and possibly will not have a social security number. You'll put their gender, marital status, country, city, town, village of birth, country of birth, and what their citizenship or nationality is. You will put his or her mailing address in 11A through 11I. So, since they're outside the United States, they will probably not have a zip code or a state. They're definitely not going to have a state, but they will have a province and a postal code. A province and a postal code. Like my spouse's province is in the Philippines, is Miss and Miss Oriental, and her postal code is 9024 in the country of the Philippines. So the next is her address history for the last 5 years. If you need more space, document it on an additional piece of paper and document the sections as instructed. Same thing with the employment history. That continues down to the information about your beneficiary's parents. Simple stuff. If these, if you don't know or she doesn't know, then of course write the not N-A's. One thing I need to say is, sometimes in foreign countries, there's mistakes on the birth certificates or the evidence. If those have never been corrected in that country, even though that is not their real or proper name, write it as it is on that document. They're checking the evidence that you provide them. So whatever you fill out on that form needs to match that evidence. Now you can note it and say, hey, this document ain't correct or whatever. I don't know how they respond to that. So the next, so this is information about your beneficiary. This is her marriage information. Who was she married to? When did the marriage end? Has your beneficiary ever been to the United States of America? Most have not. Some will. They will not allow you to immigrate a fiance to the United States who is already living in the United States. That is a completely different route. Check with an attorney. I was kind of unsure, and my instructions did not clarify. But I went ahead and wrote my partner's passport number here, even though she hadn't been in the United States. I hope I don't get in trouble for that. That's a call you'll have to make. Just because she does have a passport. I was confused at the time. I know more about the process now and how it operates, so but I assume you don't need to, as it's not pertaining that she has ever been in the United States of America, so it's probably no. This is information about your beneficiary's children. I think it only gives space for one. If she has multiple, put on an additional sheet of paper, write the sections down, and then it wants to know where the children live if they're not going to be residing with her in the United States. They may also want to know who's going. I guess they need to know who's going to be taking care of the children. This is the address where your beneficiary intends to live. This is where you intend to live together. It's worded intend because that can change. I think if this changes at any point, maybe you should update them with an official letter. I think it's always best uh, on some things like this to keep them updated and informed. This is your beneficiary's physical address abroad, and then, as I said before, you will have to write it in her native language, be that Korean, Japanese, Chinese, Russian, Estonian, French, whatever, and it will need a separate piece of paper uh, attached, translated, what it all means. Lastly, is your beneficiary related to you? More than likely, she isn't. But if you ever watched Game of Thrones, then you know that Daenerys is Jon's aunt. Um, if you're married, then you're supposed to be following a K-3 anyway. This is the stuff I'm not going to really go over, other than to say you need to seriously look into the stuff about the IMBRA. You need to try to, if you've met on a dating site, you need to get a letter from that company stating why they are not an international marriage broker. You do not want to run into a human trafficking situation. I promise you, you will really need an attorney. If you got on a damn marriage broker in Russia, God help you. Okay, this is your criminal information. They need to know this because if you are a criminal, then that had to be like the first thing you told your partner, or the company, the dating site where you met had to legally inform her, since you were a citizen of the United States of America, or him or her. I'm going to say her for the rest of the video. This is her biographic information. And this is where you get into your legal stuff. So you are the petitioner. You're going to agree that you can read and understand English, and you have read and understand every question and instruction on this petition. And they are your answers. Shh. Oh, there's my dog barking. That the interpreter named in part 6 read, if you're having it translated, if you happen to be Spanish or whoever you are, that well, I guess you're not watching this video if you listen to it or you speak a language that is not English. Ha ha, funny. That the interpreter named in part 6 read every question to you and that you understood it. Or at my request, the preparer named in part 7, which is usually your attorney, but you could have mom and dad or your sister or somebody, I guess, help you prepare the form. That person will have to sit down and sign the form. This will be your phone number, daytime phone number, your mobile phone number, and your email address. And read this very clearly so that you can certify under penalty and perjury that all the information in this petition and any documents submitted with it were provided or authorized by you, that you reviewed and you understood all the information contained therein and submitted it with your petition, and that all of this information is complete, true, and correct. I would go ahead whenever you print it, decide to print and sign. Whenever you decide to sign it, go ahead and write the date in, print it, and don't forget to sign it. I mean, you can write the date in. If you don't understand how to use this text thing or you can't work it, you can write it in that's fine. You write and print, write it all, print it all, or type it all, whatever. So here's the information about the interpreter: their mailing address, their phone contact information, and your interpreter's signature. And then this part 7 is for the person who prepared the document for you or helped you prepare this document. And then they will sign it. They'll either say that they are not an attorney or an accredited representative, but have prepared this petition on behalf of the petitioner with the petitioner's consent, or that they are an attorney or accredited representative, and the representation of the petitioner in this case does not extend beyond the preparation of this document. So your attorney will know all about all that. And you are, and of course, if you are the preparer, you prepared it, you're going to sign it again because you prepared it. All right. When you complete this, you really need to take a break for like a day, because it's going to be, I'm serious, when you fill out this thing, it is kind of frustrating because it takes so long. But come to it, once you take a break from it, take like a day, 2 days. It ain't going to make that big of a difference. Come back to it, read over it like 3 times, more times. You want to make sure this thing is so correct that like it could not get any correcter or any more. Like, you want to make sure, like, this is your life, this is your money, this is like thousands of dollars you're pissing down the drain if you don't do this all correct. Make sure it's correct. Use black ink only. Check that all the names, numbers, dates, and addresses are correctly spelled and formatted and match the correct government documents. Make sure that all explanations are correctly notated on their proper pages. Make sure that all empty boxes are properly marked with NA as per instructions. Read the instructions. Read them twice. Print them out, refer to them as you do this. I promise you, you will need to. Don't play around with it. Don't think, oh, I'm like a flicking doctor. I do paperwork all the time. I'm going to do this thing because I know it. Just do it. Don't mess with the Department of Homeland Security. And this is Section 8. This is the page I was saying. You'll write your first, middle, last name, and then your alien number, which you won't have. That'll be an NA. And then any part of this where you needed to further explain or document, add children, you will put it in these spaces with the page number, part number, item number, and your explanation. It is literally that simple. Thank you for watching. I'm coming up on the end time for my videos, so thank you. Have a good day.